Hi, I'm Raylene Taskoski, and I've talked to over 10,000 women about sex over the past decade. Welcome to the Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed podcast.
Welcome to Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed. It's where you can get questions answered like,
how long does it take the average man to orgasm?
and,
How long does it take the average woman to orgasm?
and also,
why is it so hot in here?
audiences agree it's brilliantly funny. Raylene makes sex ed fun. This show is entertaining, factual, and relatable.
There's nothing worse than being halfway done with sex and feeling your vagina shut down on you.
You've got to see Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed.
I am ready to go do that comedy show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed podcast hosted by Raylene Taskoski and some other guest. And today's guest is Sophia Florence, who is a queer comedian who co-hosts Comedy in the Dirty in Waterbury, Connecticut. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is really nice.
I know, don't you like the way I have the place set up?
I love it.
So you said you are a, let's see, this is what you said when I said who wants to be on my show. I'm queer, I've slept around a lot, and all of my comedy is either about fucking someone else or fucking myself, which is a great intro.
Thanks. It's accurate. It's definitely true to form.
Tell me why.
To be honest, I think that comedy is about absurdity, at large. And I think the most absurd thing about us is sex. It's something that, from every logical standpoint seems ridiculous. And maybe that's my background as a scientist speaking, but it's always phenomenal to realize how weird and kind of wrong the body is, but how great it is anyway.
Right. I think about that a lot. I think about there is even if you're female, which is significantly less weird looking, masturbating looks weird. Sex looks weird, right? And that moment of orgasm is just so taking you out of life into a whole new realm, and then all of a sudden you're right back and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to make that face.
Yeah, I think that the orgasm phase is part of the funny part. I think that part of it is just that a lot of our lives, unless you're asexual or something, tend to revolve around sex in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love talking about that. I love diving into it in comedy, and how sex is foundational for who someone is as a person sometimes. Doing bits about masturbating and porn and those kinds of things. And
all of my comedy is about sex. Almost all of it. I mean, the thing that I was in a comedy show one time, and it was one of those bringers, and one of the guys, I introduced myself, and he's like, oh, I've heard of you. And I'm like, no, you haven't. And he goes, yeah, no, I heard you have a solid 5 on blowjobs. And I'm like, oh, okay, you have heard of me then. That's pretty much what I'm known for, is just blowjob jokes. Right? So, all right, I'll take it.
Solid 5 on blowjobs has to be tough. I only sleep with women in general, so I don't have a lot of experience giving blowjobs. I did probably in my life suck maybe 3 dicks, roughly.
Just test dicks to see if that was something you were into.
Yeah, I so growing up trans in the 90s, there wasn't any other trans people around, and so I didn't have a lot of the vocabulary for what I was feeling, and I was like, well, if I'm trans, does that mean that I'm also into dudes or bisexual or something? And so I gave it the old college try prior to college, and realized that it wasn't for me. There was just it's on a short list of things that I wouldn't put in my mouth, but dicks are somewhere on there.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the clarification between whether or not you're straight or gay, I also do not put dicks in my mouth, and I'm very, very straight. So that's literally the point of my five minutes of blowjobs, is how much I hate them. So that's not the dividing line, Sophia.
I also didn't have a lot of attraction to men in the first place, but I was I guess might as well figure out if sometimes you have like friendly feelings for someone and you're like, oh, like this could be a crush, I don't know, and like you explore those feelings and then you're like, oh no, it wasn't, it was just friendly, very platonic.
Like, damn it, I was just drunk and I fucked them and I don't like them at all. Oh, it's rough to go a long period of time without getting high and then get high and then try to perform.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I'm performing right now, which is good. I feel like we're having a conversation, which is
Right.
nice. And I have a 2-drink minimum before performing anyway. I feel like you can't.
Minimum or maximum?
Minimum.
All right, because I've got a 2-drink maximum before I'll go on stage.
My max is 3. My minimum is 2. It's got to be either 2 or 3 drinks. I feel
It
like
also depends on where I am in the show. If I'm like 9th out of 10, it's different than if I'm, 2nd out of 3.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. I feel like if you're 9th out of 10, you're going to end up drinking anyway because you're at the bar.
Right. I try to be really careful though. Like when I very, very first started, I wouldn't have any because I just wanted to have control. And then I got to the point where like, okay, if I have 2, I'm okay. If I have more than that, then I potentially lose my mind. And then I also one time took a Benadryl before I went on, before I left the house, because I had a really bad head cold. And this is still, I if you've listened to this podcast before, you've heard this story. I had the head cold. It was in a 300 seat club, and there were 14 people there. It was Game 7 of the World Series, where the Cubs were the one that they won. And I took a Benadryl before I left the house, and it was the longest 15 minutes of my entire life.
Oh no!
It was awful, and I was like, "What happened?" And then the next day, I was like, "You dumbass." So now I will not take a Benadryl. Like, I don't care if I've got snot straight up dripping right down my face. I will just blow my nose and go on stage. I try to be really careful because I don't have that much of a brain to begin with. I mean, I'm always losing my words. I'm at that age now where I'm like, is that old age or is this intro to like Alzheimer's? Like,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I tend to lose my words a lot too, but that's I have obsessive compulsive disorders. Sometimes like things just kind of get stuck on one thing and do not get filtered out into other things. But I try to make that work for me as a comedian. I feel like exploring my own neurosis is fine too. Like my long-term attempts at medicating myself and those kinds of things, like they end up yielding funny results sometimes, so I'm okay like kind of using that, and then just being weird on stage is fine.
I think there's a tremendous number of us comedians that are just weird in general, so we just put it on stage and let it work for us.
Yeah, I remember when I was first getting into things, I always felt like what I was doing was always like kind of a comedy persona, but it wasn't very different than who I am in real life. But it was still like there's still like a separation between the two. Like my comedy persona, my on-stage act felt like just a little more to the extremes than my off-stage life. But I have met people and other comedians who are as weird on stage as they are in real life, and it always took me by surprise.
I wonder if we're thinking about the same person, but there's definitely one, and I see him on stage, and I'm like, there's no way that's what he's like in real life. And then he gets off stage, and he still is that person, and I'm like, ugh.
Oh, I've met people where it's kind of charming. It's more women that I've met than men that have that, like, when they take it off stage, they're still like kind of the same person. Like quirky, kind of strange women, and then like you meet them off stage and you're like, oh, you are exactly like that everywhere. Which is fine. I actually kind of love that. It's like endearing in the weirdest way. I don't know if I'd like want any of those folks to be my roommates or anything, but
yeah, I don't think that I'm much different in any situation than any other situation. Like that's just I mean my graduation yearbook quote was, like me or not, I am who I am. I just am. And I mean, I could apologize for it, but most people seem to like me. So
Yeah, well,
if
screw
you
it.
don't, then it's kind of on you, because I'm kind of a decent person. There's nothing I can think of that I would specifically be able to change. And if you just find me annoying, that's fine. I mean, plenty of people do, but plenty of other people think I'm hilarious. So I think I'll go with the people that think I'm hilarious.
Yeah, that's a safer bet, I think.
Yeah. And some people don't like to talk about sex, and so that makes them uncomfortable, and so they throw up walls at me, and I'm like, that's cool. But if you're not enjoying sex, then that's probably why you hate me.
Yeah. I had a show maybe a little more than a year and a half ago, and I got booked by like a queer nonprofit, and just tell maybe a 15-minute set, and I get there and it's a lot of like donors and stuff. It really isn't like the queer audience that I was expecting.
The people
But
that are
I
going to get your jokes.
Yeah, but I thought I'd just go ahead with it anyway, and I did basically an entire 15 minutes on nothing but porn. And
Just because they're donors don't mean they don't watch porn.
yeah, but they did not want to admit it.
Of course not.
There's a lot of very uncomfortable faces in the audience, and like one person that was laughing so hard they were crying, and I think it was partially the jokes, but partially just the atmosphere of like
Right, the discomfort, which can also be hilarious.
Yeah, I think that's funny for me. Like as a comedian, I like telling jokes that make people uncomfortable. Not like I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or anything, but like I want someone in the audience to feel like, oh God, I'm so weird, like and have that like moment of like, oh shit, like I relate to this. I shouldn't relate to this, but I'm relating to this. Because that's really funny to me, like just watching those gears turn in someone's head and
Right.
slowly process that, like talking about how everyone has that habit of like you're watching porn and it gets like maybe it takes you like 35 minutes to come, and you're just like kind of like browsing through videos, and like as you browse it tends to get weirder and weirder and weirder until you find that one thing that's like piquing your interest on that particular day. And like I feel like
increasingly shameful pornography until something hits your button.
Yeah, and then you have to like slam your laptop shut when you're done, because like I don't even want to think about what I was just looking at. Like you're like, oh, I got to like the 12 Asian girls peeing on a subway, but like sometimes it works, whatever.
It's like when I'm watching a news story or something that's not related to sex at all, and I'm like, that's disgusting, that's awful, that's gross, be right back, I'm gonna go masturbate.
Yeah.
I just suddenly feel tired, I need a nap, I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah, that's like one of the better things about being an adult. I remember being a kid and having to go take a nap at 3:00 in the afternoon when I got home from school, quote unquote, because like I wanted to masturbate, but it's just you can't talk about that at 13. That's insane.
Right.
Never talk about that.
It would be so great though if they could, like,
yeah.
And I've kind of I don't know, desensitized my children, but if I tell them I'm going to go take a power nap, that's what that means. I'm going to go masturbate and sleep. I'll be out in 22 minutes.
I like that it's described as a power nap in that situation, because it sounds like the kind of nap that involves a Hitachi wand, like because you got the plug-in power cord.
Nope, sorry.
It kind of has to be at that point.
Just 2 fingers on the right hand. I'm a Boy Scout. I can do it all. Yep.
Wow.
And it's weird considering what I do for a living, considering what I sell. But yeah, no, I don't actually even need toys. It would take me longer to get it out and clean it and make sure the batteries are charged, and it takes me to just do what I need to do and be done.
That's fair. Yeah, there's preparation with toys and stuff. Like you have to like clean them at least regularly.
Yeah, well, you should before and after you use them, depending on if you got roommates or pets or parents or housekeepers. Somebody's touching your toys.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully not. Oh my God. That just
Yeah. Especially if
that
you've
like
got
flashes through my head, and I'm like, oh god.
even especially if you have children and people don't even, but like I've been doing this for so long that people will be like, oh, found my mom's, I found my mom and dad's, I found my mom's this, and then people will be like, oh, my kids found mine. If you've got kids, they're going to find your toys, and they may not tell you they found them, so you should always clean them before and after.
Your kids will never tell you they found them. Like, I would never tell my mom that I found her vibrator when I was a kid. Like,
no, but not at a certain age, but at a younger age,
she doesn't
like
care.
one of my friends said that her son came out with her bullet, and he was like, "Yuck, I found Daddy's weasels," and he was rubbing it all over his face. And I was like, and that's why you clean your toys after you use them, and before you use them.
Oh my god. Oh, that must have been mortifying.
I would imagine.
Part of me would just laugh, though. Just,
Right.
whatever. Yeah, sure, that's a razor. You just keep
Mhm.
thinking that. I am good with you thinking that for as long as you need to.
Yep. Well, I'm all about making sure your kids know how to masturbate. I mean, not specifically showing them, not show and tell, but
Yeah,
giving them their moments.
I feel like kids should have a shame-free environment to learn about that kind of thing. Like, it's weird that we have shame about something that, like, most of us do. I'm sure that there's
Right.
like a 1% of people that really, really don't masturbate, but like 99% of the time, like, people masturbate.
Right.
And
like, not that we're saying frequently and they're not masturbating daily, but I mean, even those who say they don't masturbate have masturbated.
Yeah, they've at least done it once.
Or they've had a wet dream, which, to be fair, pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's just masturbation on autopilot.
Right. I do. My husband claims that he's a non-masturbator, which is fine. But also, one time he was out of town for 2 months. He was gone, and when he got back, he was like, "Well, I mean, it's not like I never masturbate." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I see what happened there."
Yeah, what else would have happened? Like, if he's away for 2 months.
I may or may not have done a shower show.
Nice. Oh, well, hopefully he did that.
Yes.
I feel like doing a shower show for somebody and them not masturbating would feel insulting almost.
I did not ask any questions. I didn't.
Are you not entertained? Like the
Yeah,
gladiator moment. Like.
Yeah. So it's just, but he's very uncomfortable talking about it. He doesn't like to talk about it. He doesn't like to talk about sex. His family is very closed up, tight. And I just talk about it all the time. So, and I don't do it to embarrass people. I want people to get more comfortable talking about things. The more you hear things, the more you're surrounded by things, the more comfortable you will be with the subject matter.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of my podcast and my comedy show and my stand-up and whatever. Yeah. I mean, I'm not getting anything out of it. It's not like when I make everybody laugh about masturbating or blowjobs that I go home and like, oh, that was so good for me. Right, that's not true. If people are laughing, that is good for me. That makes me feel really good.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, we all feel like if you're a comedian, there's got to be some part of you that like really likes when people laugh at your jokes. You're like, yeah, I love that so much.
You know what? My most favorite thing is when a guy says to me, "I laughed so hard I almost peed myself." When a guy says it, because women say it all the time.
Yeah, they do.
Because I know women pee themselves when I do my stuff. I know they do. But when guys say it, I'm like, yes. I'm glad you thought that blowjob joke was so funny you almost peed yourself. So do you have any funny sex stories?
Funny sex stories. Oh God. I'm trying to think of funny sex stories that I can tell without embarrassing someone.
Well, just leave their name out of it.
Yeah, I guess nothing too funny that I can think of, actually. Like, I guess my sex life has been it's weird. I fucked a lot of people, but I'm like a very vanilla sex person. Like, I love having sex, but like,
what's your favorite position?
Um, the other girl being a pillow queen and me just going down on earth. That's it. I'm like
There
such
you
a
go.
sucker for that.
Pillow
Um,
princess.
yeah. Oh, actually, so I guess a funnier sex story. So, I was kind of workshopping this joke for a long time about how I personally don't eat ass.
Yeah. Okay.
And like
There's plenty of people who don't.
I feel like a failed millennial for it. I feel like there's something like weird about me because like everyone eats ass now. It's like a big thing. Like
It really, it
like
really
the
is.
we got a whole hit song about it like 3 years ago. Eat the booty like the groceries. And I'm like, all right, like that's what everyone's doing now, I guess. And but I have this fear that someone will fart in my mouth. And I'm like workshopping this joke with like a friend of mine who isn't a comedian. I always want to workshop jokes with people that aren't comedians because I feel like comedians are so cynical about jokes. And like
Right.
if you're in front of somebody who's like not a comedian, they just they laugh. You get the approval that you're looking for. You know that it'll work on an audience as long as you're not at like a shitty open mic. Um,
All open mics are shitty.
Most, yeah, yeah. I think Northampton has great open mics.
Isn't that Massachusetts?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
It's a very queer community. It's a lot of younger people and like audiences come out to the open mics, which is nice.
That's nice.
So at least you're not it's not comedians telling jokes for comedians.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm workshopping this joke with my friend, and I'm telling him, and he's like, "Oh, I love eating ass." He's like, "There's no way someone would ever fart in your mouth while you were eating their ass." It's just like no one farts when they come.
I disagree.
And yeah, I disagree too. And
Wait, did he say no one farts when they come?
yeah,
Okay, he hasn't been with enough women then, because
I thought the same thing, but it was funny because like I couldn't think of any specific instance that somebody farted when they come, but I was like, I knew it had to have happened at one point.
well, I could give you a list of times I've done it.
I feel like a lot of people do it. I like you're having this big release moment, like your muscles are gonna just kind of
Right.
expanding and contracting these kinds of things. So like obviously like it's going to happen. And so with my partner at the time, we were fucking around. I made her come and she farted at the same time. She's super embarrassed because she had heard me tell this joke before. But the next time we were at an open mic, or I don't know if it was an open mic or a book show, but up in Northampton, oddly enough. And I told the joke and she just called herself out. She raised her hand and she was like, "That's me. I fart when."
No, I don't know if I've done this one on stage or not, but there's when there's that choice, there's that moment when you're making love and you have to decide between letting it rip or letting it go. So you can either have that orgasm and fart, or you can fake your orgasm and preserve your dignity. Right. And the orgasm farts are never quiet. They're always like, oh, they got to make sure that everybody knows that shit just happened. No, I definitely did this joke on stage once because then I said, I wonder if he's inside of you and his testicles are hanging down and you fart, do his balls just go in the wind?
Yeah, or get very warm.
Right? Do they not feel that? Because that was, I've definitely told that joke. But I just remember the guy in the front row just fucking dying. So that's why I remember telling that joke. But that's like, it's normal, especially when you get to a certain age, things aren't as locked up tight.
Yeah.
But what's weird is I've heard a bazillion jokes about queefing, and I have not queefed it since I was like 22 years old.
Damn.
Right. And I'm like, how normal is it that everybody talks about that? And for me, it's like a non-issue. And it never has been.
I feel like it's something that happens a lot when people are inexperienced with sex because they're like, I'm going to go in at this weird angle and just cause it to happen.
Right.
And like you learn as you get older because like a lot of those angles are also uncomfortable angles anyway. Right. So you learn not to do that after a while.
I just remember my ex, he wasn't big on going down. And he was down there. We were young, like we were 18 and 19 at the time. And he's down there and he's poking around and he blew into it and right back out at him. And he was like, ew. And I'm like, that's you, dude. You just threw that in there. Where did you think it was going to go? Like,
Would you do
dumbass.
that?
Yeah. But yeah, I think like around that time was probably the last time. And so when people ask me questions about it, I'm like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's not actually that common.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the people that can make themselves do it. That's amazing to me.
Queef?
Yeah,
Huh. Why would you want to do that?
I don't know. That's part of the fascination. Like, it's like a weird thing to just like enjoy doing. But like, I've definitely seen like porn girls that just like can do that on command. That are just like, I'm gonna do this right now.
That's got to be a weird kink. I just want
Yeah,
to see a girl blow air out of her vagina.
yeah. It's not a kink for me, but I'll watch. I'm very obviously like, it's an interesting thing to watch happen.
Do you have a favorite toy?
Oh man. Um, I don't think I have a favorite that I've had, but I'm so interested in that womanizer thing.
Oh, I can
The
get you one.
suction thing.
Yeah.
That's like fascinating to me. Like I don't have one. It's like a little out of my price range personally, but like I'm
I-
super like
Is that
interested in
toy
that
gonna work for you?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's go back to this part where you're queer. So you said you're transgender.
Yes.
I mean, I need to know more information because I just don't feel like the womanizer is going to work that well for you.
I love keeping things ambiguous about what's in my pants, so that's what I'm going to do here.
All right.
My life is funnier that way.
Okay. So
If I did have an operation, I would never tell anyone except for like close friends. So like no one would know if I had already.
good point. Good
Um,
point.
but I kind of love like the ambiguity of that. Like I occasionally enjoy being. It can be like really frustrating being like a visibly queer person in public, like being visibly trans, because people will give you shit for it. But I also like that people just don't know much about what's going on with me, and they're like a little confused, and I'm like okay with that. Like I kind of like from a comedian's perspective, like I think that there's ways to make jokes about that, and they're very funny.
Right.
And so sometimes I will joke about having a dick, sometimes I'll joke about having a pussy, and like no one will know which is true. That's way better for me than
I suppose that's true. And how old were you when you lost your virginity?
16. I was on the floor of my bathroom and I lost it to a pregnant girl.
Oh, all right.
Which I guess is a funny sex story that I didn't think about. Yeah, yeah. Now they're all like coming flooding back.
Was she
I'm like,
like
that
visibly pregnant?
getting there, yeah, but not like third trimester visibly
Right.
pregnant.
Just looked like she had a big lunch.
Yeah, yeah. It was a weird experience. She ended up being very like stalkerish afterwards, like blowing up my phone and stuff. So, and you know, that was the early like 2001, so I did not have a cell phone. It was a home phone that she was blowing up.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
should have just had your mom answer the phone.
I did.
It didn't work.
It worked eventually.
Yeah.